series of videos on this Focus. Some of them are wrap removal, repairing the door lock, stereo installation upgrade. It'll be an Android based head unit with Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto and that sort of thing. Headlight rejuvenation, even how to open the bonnet, just little things like that people aren't aware of. A few panel repairs and then a full colour change wrap, at least at this point. So we'll get started. We'll probably see this part of the video many times. So as you can see, the headlights on the Focus are pretty bad. They have been cleared at one point with a 1 coat, which is a acrylic or the likes, just out of a pressure pack, no doubt, which they probably didn't look too bad at the time. Unfortunately, we need to get rid of that acrylic. So you can see I dropped a little bit of thinners on it and it's melted through the acrylic. You know, you could polish these and it would come up all right, but unfortunately it's still acrylic paint, so it's not going to last as long. The passenger side, or the left hand side here, you can see cracks and creases there. That was in a really poor state. All the acrylic had actually shrunk back, and I think that had part to do with a tint. These had a vinyl tint laid over them, and where that had shrunk back, it's they're not designed to be on there forever. So anyway, so I've hit this very aggressively with a 120 on the buzzer to get rid of a majority of the stuff. I don't want to go all the way back to the plastic with that coarseness, so we'll use a finer pad. I've got a 240 wet pad, which I'll hit it on the buzzer, and that'll get rid of all the last little remnants. And this one here I'll also hit with the 120, then the 240, and then we'll step it up to a 400 wet, and then we're good to clear over. Okay, so I've just washed this off, ready to buzz it back with the 240 wet. So you can see the haze to it. This one's been sanded back with the 240. A bit hard to see, but you can see there's some light swirl marks in there. So, but side by side, there's a lot more optical clarity to this than there is to this. So we need to improve that again, and then the clear itself will obviously seal it and finish that off. So it's been sanded back with the 400. So we don't obviously want this to be perfectly crystal clear, because we need the clear coat to bond. So this hazing is just tiny little scratches within the acrylic. So you can see here the difference between that to now with the 400. So we need adhesion. We need adhesion into the acrylic, into the plastic. So that's why we need that bit of hazing. So it's the same as if you were painting paint. Knock the brightness off it, make it all dull, and it gives it a better point of adhesion. So this is all ready, just needs to be dried off and then clear coated, and that's it. This one here needs the other two stages. It's worth noting too that you won't have to hit it so aggressively as what I have done here if your headlight's in reasonable condition. So typically I'll only hit it with, if it's pretty bad, the 240 wet and then the 400. But otherwise, just the 400 to scuff it up and lay it on is typically good enough to get rid of the contaminants and have a decent finish. Okay, first coat's on. See, it's quite pilly, but we have coverage. So we'll let that flash off for a couple of minutes. This is fast hardener, so we don't want to let it flash off too long, but we don't want to build it up too high, because otherwise you'll get a lot of solvent boil, little pinholes everywhere. So, but you can already see how much better these focus lights are coming. Pretty awesome this morning. Came out, the headlights were looking pretty average after being clear coated, and to find that there's actually a film on these headlights. So they probably were tinted, but it's faded out. So now I've got to sand all this back off and try and get all the old film off and the residue, which is going to be melting into the acrylic because it's old and crap, and then start from scratch and re-clear it. Okay, getting back into the sanding. So you can see the whiter looking stuff, that's actually the clear coat, and the film. So where I've got the grayer looking areas, this is all back to acrylic. So we need to get it back to acrylic, so the plastic of the headlight, and get rid of all this stuff on top. So I've got this headlight done. So that's all ready for a lighter sand. So I'll use 800 wet on that and see how it comes up. Take 2 on the headlights. That's the first coat on. So the second coat, I'm going to give this a fair bit of time to flash off. We are using a fast hardener, so I've got to be mindful I don't go too long. But the next coat, I'm going to add a little bit of reducer in, and that'll flatten that clear right out. Okay, second coat done. It's about 10% reducer in it. You can see how flat it is now. Time.